I think the problem is no matter how sexy my voice sounds, I would ruin that vision in anybody's head the second I open my mouth and actually say things. People are gonna like, your voice might sound sexy, but you're a horrible person.
You could be both. Come on, that's not fair. You could be two things.
I mean, I guess technically you can be a sexy asshole. I mean, yeah, he's hot, but he's kind of a dick.
That's exactly right.
Everything he says, it sounds like he's always about 5 beers in.
God, how did that happen?
Story of my life, boys. Story of my life.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Press X, the podcast, where we are a week before E3. Well, a little less than a week, and we're getting very excited and also very stressed out. My name is Paul, I'm your host, and alongside me today I have Mr. James Paley.
Hello.
And just like last week, he's here again. It's Shawn Petraschuk.
I'm barely here, Paul. Barely here.
Please.
I almost wasn't able to be here.
Oh, okay. Let's stop with the hysterics. Why don't you just go ahead and give me a nice, calm discussion about what's going on with you?
Well, remember last week when my house was sold? It's not sold anymore because the financing fell through on the people who bought the house. So
shit.
Yeah, so we're listed again, and we had open house and all sorts of. We've had like a crazy ton of showings again. I just want this deal to be done. That, and I almost died over the weekend of the sickness. But I'm dedicated to this show. I had to be here. I couldn't imagine missing another week.
If I get sick at E3, I'm calling you patient zero because I know you've been sick. So
yeah, I'm kind of glad that it happened now, though. You know what I mean? I mean, get those antibodies up as it fights all this off. I'm on the tail end of it because it started around Wednesday or Thursday. But get those antibodies up, and maybe I'll avoid the con plague. I'll probably come home right as rain.
We will see about that.
I'm going to do my best to sabotage the shit out of it. I mean, I'm probably going to drink like a fish. You guys know me.
What do you mean, probably?
I will.
So we're going to do something a little special this week. Being that it's a week before E3, we're going to forego talking about news and emails and all that kind of stuff and just talk about what's probably going to happen next week. We honestly probably know about like 60% of the things that are going to be revealed. But we're going to, which is a whole nother can of worms, but we're going to yap about the stuff that we might see and just go off the rails.
I like this direction. I was saying to James before you popped on here, it's nice when you talk about news is great and all, but you're following along and you're looking at all sorts of things and making sure you're on top of it. This is a chance for us to just bullshit for an hour or an hour and a half of the things that we're interested in and what we're expecting. So these are my favorite types of casts.
Sweet. So I ginned up a rough list of the stuff that we think we might see from various publishers and developers. And there's one specific one that I'd like to begin with. And Shawn, I seem to remember you saying last week, fuck you, there's no way Hitman 2 is happening. And
Okay, hold on.
Shawn,
I never said fuck you. I never said fuck you. I mean, don't put words in my mouth. I mean, I very well would have said fuck you, but I didn't, is what I'm trying to say.
How kind. So please, go on. Okay. Tell me what you have to say about Hitman.
No, okay. I'm willing to eat crow in that, obviously, an hour before we started recording, give or take, a couple hours ago, the leak came through for Hitman 2. I'm surprised by it, but not because I thought that Hitman was bad. I mean, we can go back to that in that I think it was a serviceable game. I personally didn't play it myself, but I didn't think that anybody would have thought it was a bad game, and I was glad that it was getting traction after the fact. But the reason I didn't think it would show at E3, and James and I were chatting about this just before you popped on, is all that licensing exchange. That only happened, as far as I'm concerned, remember, like when Square gave it back to IO, was what, like I think it was like December to November, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and so that's what I mean, is that I wasn't saying, no, it's not good enough to have a Hitman 2. That was never part of the conversation. it genuinely surprises me that they had their shit together enough after Square handing everything back to them to pull it all together with WB under their belt saying, hey, we're back with 2. I mean, if anything, it's impressive that they organized themselves that quickly after Square kind of, washed their hands of the franchise.
Yeah, I think they were probably quite a ways into that development cycle, or, at least had some map building and things in the can. So in that sense, I'm not too surprised that they're ready to show something.
And to Square's credit, too, when that transaction happened, they didn't keep anything. They literally handed everything, every asset and the engine and everything else completely back over to IO and said, do the best you can. Like, they weren't out there trying to bring the dev down in any capacity. They want them to succeed. They just didn't want to carry on that particular relationship.
Which makes sense. They got a lot of stuff to, to pay attention to. There's a lot going on both sides of the Pacific for Square Enix.
Yeah. So like I say, I mean, I'm glad that obviously, I mean, I played all the original Hitman games too, right? I mean, I definitely am a fan of the franchise. I'm just genuinely surprised that they got it together this quickly. I honestly thought that they would be in the regrouping stage and that maybe next year we'd be looking at 2019 before we saw anything. So I'm impressed by their work ethic. I'll give them that much.
James, are you... Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, are you a Hitman guy?
I played a couple of them way back in the day for like PS2 or what have you, and I thought they were pretty rad. I think as far as the turnaround time, it might be because like if they're doing like a continuation like season 2, like you guys were saying, that in my mind would cut down on a lot of the dev time, right? Like they just have to come up with some hot new locations, do all the like the storyboarding, cook up the scenarios and shit. But I mean, like, I feel like they don't exactly have to like rewrite the engine or anything. So as long as there wasn't any like horrific layoffs or like staff shakeups when everything changed hands, they could probably pretty much get right back to work.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they have a lot more stupid canned deaths and some ridiculous costumes, I'm going to be pretty pleased with whatever they have.
So we'll probably assume that this game's going to actually release into 2019, we'll say. So, I mean, am I being bold in predicting Game of the Year 2019 for you, Paul?
I mean, if it's as good as Season 1, probably. It's rare that I have so much fun with a game because it's just such a great sandbox. There's lots of great sandboxes out there, but there are a few that are quite so entertaining to go and cause mischief. Even if you're not working on your target or anything, just screwing around is a hell of a lot of fun in the most recent Hitman.
Well, I respect your critical eye. And I mean, if you're genuinely that passionate about it, I'll admit the only reason I passed over Hitman when it came out was because I just had other things going on, other games that I was playing. You know how it is when you've got a load of games, right? And you're like, oh, that one kind of slipped through the cracks. And I'll admit too that I was kind of thrown off by the way that they chose to release the game. I didn't quite like that. But now that the complete edition is out, I honestly feel, I mean, because I was obviously a fan of the series before, I honestly feel like I need to do my due diligence and jump into it and actually give it and play it. I mean, I definitely, like I say, I always loved the original series. There was one of them, I can't remember which one. There was one of them that I went like, oh God, they really fucked up Hitman. But it was last gen, obviously, but I can't remember which one of it was. But again, I mean, it wasn't enough to taint me on the franchise. So I feel like I need to jump in there now and kind of give it its due so I can comment on it a little more knowledgeably.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they go with the episodic method again or pump out all the maps at once. Because I think the episodic method actually did that game a lot of favors because people were encouraged to go back into the maps that were already released and find all those little goodies that they had stashed all over the place.
Do you think so, though? Because you remember, like, when they first announced that game, it was meant to be the game. Okay, Hitman, it's back, right? Okay, and everyone's all excited. And then they announced afterwards that it was going to that episodic nature. And I noticed a ton of people that were hyped start to jump ship. They're like, oh, that must mean there's trouble and everything else. And then obviously later on down, like people were saying, I mean, people like you and a lot of other people were like, it's really good. It's really good. Play it, play it, play it. And it kind of feels like one of those games that after the fact kind of turned into one of those, I don't want to say cult classics, because if it was at cult level, it wouldn't be getting a second season. You know what I mean? Enough people did play it. But it just feels like it lost, kind of lost some steam just at that point when they announced that change. Because it just kind of signified in their head, in their minds, trouble.
I was just going to say, there's definitely some precedent, even at the AAA level, for like episodic releases being pretty successful. And I mean, even at the point when Hitman Season 1 was happening, there was already kind of a precedent for various different stories and series that were actually doing pretty fucking well with that like piecemeal release schedule. And that's, I don't know about IO, but that's definitely something that Square Enix is pretty all in on.
I think it comes down to the fact that it was a change. You know what I mean? If they had originally announced it and said, hey, it's episodic, people are like, oh, interesting, right? Why? And, they follow along that story. What it was is we announced it this way. We changed it just before release. So people, question, oh, why? I wonder what's going on. And I mean, in this industry, anytime somebody asks a question like that, it's usually an assumption that something's gone wrong, unfortunately, right? I mean, we love to be pessimistic.
I don't know. I would guess that it was just Square Enix wanting to go like all fucking in on this like release strategy, or like just wanting to like experiment with this, because like Life is Strange came out in the same way, and like Telltale Games has had that as like their standard business model for a couple of years now, and it's been pretty successful for them. And like over on the other side of the Pacific, Square Enix has been pretty aggressively looking into drip-fed content in various forms for their other major franchises to some success. So it kind of, maybe it would have been trouble, but I think even at the time that it happened, it was probably just Square Enix deciding, oh, well, we've had such success with this distribution method in other examples that we definitely want to try to do it this way with Hitman, because, I don't know, they just had a funny feeling. Woke up in the middle of the night one day and were like, it has to be this.
Well, I'd be really interested to start learning or start digging into what the numbers might be behind a full release versus episodic. Not necessarily in what the total is, like, okay, this is how much the game made overall, but how much money does episode 1 make, and do they take the income from episode 1 and start dripping that into the costs on episode 2? Is it a way to sustain development rather than putting up, a huge lump sum for the whole game all at once? I mean, there's other factors at play, I would imagine. So, and I mean, obviously with Square letting go of the franchise, you'd have to think that there's just something that obviously we'll never know. I mean, unless somebody decides to chirp, but which wouldn't be surprising, because we all know that leaks are abundant in this industry.
You don't say.
That's a conversation for another time, but yeah, you know what? I mean, bottom line, I mean, I'm glad that they're able to carry on. I mean, I've always liked IO as a team as well. I've liked a lot of what they've done over the years. So, I mean, I'm glad that it's kind of making its way back around like this. So I'm actually interested to see what they do now that they're kind of, well, I shouldn't say they're not on their own. I mean, WB scooped up this one, didn't they? I'm pretty sure it's WB doing the. It was a Warner Brothers teaser site that revealed Hitman 2 today.
Yeah, I think you're right. They picked it up to publish. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, I'm glad they found a home.
Well, why don't we move on and talk about the rest of WB's stable for E3 2018? What do you guys think we're going to see?
Well, I mean, there's the two big ones. Noob dropped some kind of, I don't know, not so subtle hints that MK might make an appearance, and it's about time. Of
course it will.
In the dev cycle,
Injustice
right?
came out last year. It's time for MK.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the circle of the cycle, MK is pretty much due. And, over the past few entries into the franchise, I mean, they've definitely put their stamp on the genre again. So, I mean, they'd be foolish almost not to. I mean, this is always it's the biggest show of the year, right? So if they've got it in the wings, I mean, I'm sure we'll see something like in terms of even just a trailer, maybe not gameplay and all that yet, but it's in the works.
Mm-hmm.
So, what? Like, I know I've heard a lot of shit about Rocksteady making a Superman game, but I don't know if that's like just fervent hopes and wishful thinking, or if there's been like any kind of actual fucking deep throat nonsense about them like actually making a fucking Superman game.
Well, there was that one leak. I don't know. It was maybe a year and a half ago. It looked like a progression screen or some kind of menu screen that looked like it had some Superman powers on it. But that's about it.
Well, I mean, it's kind of hitting fever pitch. I mean, from what I've seen over Twitter and stuff like that, is that everybody seems to be pretty much set in. And I mean, I hate to say it, but usually when there's that many people talking about something, I mean, it kind of stems from somewhere, not necessarily just from a hope and a dream, that somebody kind of dropped something subtly somewhere, you know what I mean? And it picks up steam. I'm kind of can go one of two ways on it in that, I mean, I know that a lot of people were thinking they were working on other franchises. There's always been the rumbling of, hey, Rocksteady's going to pick up the Ninja Turtles franchise, to which I'd lose my shit. Don't even get me started on that. But, I mean, if anybody's going to do a Superman game justice, it's going to be Rocksteady. And, if anything, I've always liked Superman as a character, and a lot of people think Superman is boring as fuck. So, you know, having somebody that you know can do a superhero game take on Superman and actually show that he's not quite as boring as you think, I hope it would be a really good game. So, I'm cool if that's what it is.
Here's what I want to see in a Superman video game. Just like one thing.
How many rings do you want to fly through?
0, and fuck you for even bringing it up. That is some trauma shit, man. You don't be like, that's like, hey, how about that dead husband there, lady? Like, come on, man. What the fucking mean?
Holy shit, I hit a nerve in the big guy here. All right, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm done.
I'm just, you know, Superman 64 was a 3-story dumpster fire which could not be put out with a fucking tsunami, all right? That's all there is. What I want from a Superman game...
Hold up. No, now that since we're here, I'd really like to know your opinion on Superman Returns.
Which one?
Wasn't Superman Returns the one on the 360 era? Paul, help me out here. Was it Superman Returns?
I mean, that sounds right. I think it was a movie tie-in, right?
I don't know.
Was that Brandon Routh movie?
It was so shitty. It was just the shittiest game. I think Superman I still actually...
64 was worse, though.
Oh, God. 64 is a fucking abomination.
Yeah. Like, there hasn't really been a good one yet. So, like, almost anything that Rocksteady makes, if they make one, will be fabulous by comparison. I just don't want to waste a bunch of fucking time on some criminals with, like, handguns or clubs or some shit. Like, don't spend a lot of time being like, look at how easily Superman can dispatch a human being. We all know, okay? It's not like a fucking mystery, all right? Give me like one short intro stage where it's like Superman versus human being, which is the equivalent of some asshole kid stepping on an anthill, and then just take us right to like superpowered, fucking crazy, epic battles involving flying over the place and throwing mountains at each other and shit. You know, let me flex his fucking muscles. Don't just like keep us in the fucking alleyways for like 10 to 12 hours before you move on to the second half of the game or some shit like that, you know?
Yeah, I think a successful Superman game looks suspiciously like an episode of Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
absolutely
lots of
does.
Powering up and lots of really insane destruction.
Well, and they definitely have to handle it differently than the way that they did the Batman franchise because, I mean, with Batman, I mean, we all accept that he's still only human. You know what I mean? So when you see him taking on 10 or, 20 thugs, you're not the threat of him actually eventually getting his ass kicked is real. You're like, okay, that's a lot of dudes, but you just cannot realistically put a character like Superman in that position. Like 20, 30, 40 dudes, it's Superman. He's going to fuck them up. You know what I mean? So they have to handle it in a very different manner if they want to show respect to the actual character.
Yeah, like canonically, Superman exerts the most effort holding himself back so he doesn't turn whoever he's facing into like a cloud of red dust after like accidentally like backhanding them in a moment of like distraction during some altercation. And he's got to like go dry clean his fucking suit.
Things. The way you describe things is just, it's just perfect, James. I love it.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll see Superman. Why don't let's go back to the beginning. And the way I had this doc laid out is chronologically to begin with. And that kind of went to shit somewhere along the way. But let's talk about EA. Because EA Play is happening this coming Saturday. And what I wrote down is Anthem, Battlefield, some sports shit, and Star Wars?
Well, obviously we're going to see Anthem. I mean, we've gotten the teasers and stuff like that. I think when you talk about games that are hyped, Anthem's probably out of their entire stable the most hyped right now.
Mm-hmm.
People want to see them do it right. Obviously, I mean, you got BioWare behind it, so, I mean, that's got to count for something. So, I mean, I'm actually really hyped. I'm super excited to see. I mean, we were all pretty impressed by what we saw last year and the reveal. And I mean, that 10 minutes or so that they threw together, I mean, it was pretty impressive. People, I mean, I remember sitting back going, holy fuck, like, if that's the game, I want it, and I want it now.
Yeah, it looked suspiciously like in-engine footage, or at least some of it did. It was like, really...
sure it did. Yeah, exactly right. And then, of course,
it looked like Frostbite gameplay.
Yeah. And then we went through, though, the past year, and, you know, EA dug themselves a hole. So, I mean, I think the industry, you know, on the whole is kind of cynical right now when it comes to EA. So I think EA is probably smart enough to have taken a bit of a step back, and they're gonna come back with a bit of a different attitude. And I have faith that they're gonna do Anthem correctly.
You know, I'm in the desperate minority when I say that I like the combat engine in Mass Effect Andromeda. And looking at the trailer from Anthem from last year, it looks a lot like that engine. And I think that's a really good choice because it was a lot more diverse than people gave it credit for. I think people tried to brute force their way through just first-person shooter style, but that's not what it's designed for. And if they bake a lot of cool abilities into Anthem, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to wreck dudes and gals in space with spacesuits and missiles and shit.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly with that. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, everything else that EA's got, I mean, Battlefield is Battlefield for me. I mean, I've never been a big Battlefield guy. They've already kind of, they're going to maybe show some of it, but I mean, we already know about it at this point.
We have a huge, long appointment for Battlefield. So we should...
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's probably going to be some hands-on, obviously.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not like it's one of those franchises where, you know, they announce it, you know, like with Anthem, and you go, oh, but, you know, you're not going to play it for 2 years, or, you know, whoever else. It's like, it's going to be out in 3 months. So they've got playable builds. To me, I mean, that type of stuff ends up being a non-event for me, that I don't get excited about it because we already know about it. And then obviously, yeah, with EA and the sports stuff is, you know, it's the same old. I mean, the game's going to come out and everybody's going to bitch that, oh, they only changed one thing from last year, blah, 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 blah. It's all the same arguments we always get with every yearly entry into the sports games.
The sports games, here's the thing. They don't get a lot of attention. A lot of the games journalism industry doesn't really give a shit, but they're a super reliable, stable, permanent source of income for EA because there's so many guys out there who will buy these fucking games every year when they come out, and they might go to the forums and bitch. They might be like, oh, well, I wish they changed a little bit more, but I already spent the money. You know, this is their workhorse, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm interested to see what might come out of anything, out of their camp in terms of Star Wars. I mean,
Well,
man,
they do have that news that they're ramping up Motive with a couple of new studios in Montreal and Vancouver, and are hiring a ton of people to work on Star Wars.
well,
So I don't know if we'll see anything this year, but who
well,
knows?
I mean, Jesus, I mean, it's a chance at redemption. I'll give them that.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
chance at redemption. I mean, I don't know. My attitude, honestly, is, I mean, have you traveled back into Battlefront now that kind of the things have changed? For example, I mean, but my argument really, or my this is Battlefront 2 a bad game, or is Battlefront 2 a victim of bad marketing in the way that they chose to do things? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's not a bad game. It's they fucked up and they tried to take advantage of consumers. So the question isn't whether or not they're capable. I mean, and again, this is Motive. I mean, a subsidiary, or you know what I mean. It's like EA. You can't just judge EA as the whole. I mean, you got to count the individual people behind every game. Anyway, point being, it's not that they can't handle Star Wars properly and do a good Star Wars game. I have every faith that they can do a great Star Wars game. It's just people got fucked over, right? So if they are doing Star Wars and they learned their lesson, I'm excited for it. If there's some exec in some back room who is still trying to scheme how they can bend us over the table and shove it in dry, well, fuck you guys. I don't want you to do it. You know what I mean? I mean, I still think they're capable of making a great game. They just got to do it correctly.
I think I will never play Battlefront 2 again, specifically because I haven't for so long, and now everybody that's on the online servers are some like fucking crack
tier.
shot high energy. Exactly. Like, I'm gonna sign on and be like, I wonder what's changed, and then I'll get like lasered into fucking Swiss cheese after 45 seconds. I'm like, wow, this was a really great time. Maybe I'll come back in 6 more months.
That's what scares me away from most anything that's like, I've contemplated so many times jumping into Overwatch, and I'm just like, nah, you know what, at this point.
Overwatch is way better for that because they have like levels and tiers, and they'll separate the new players from the like the relentless murder machines. And so you actually get like a tiny bit of breathing room before you're thrown into the like king size meat grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, have I mentioned how I love the way you explain and describe things?
King-sized meat grinder.
King-sized meat grinder is a hell of an expression. I think I might steal that for my own use.
By all means.
All right, so we know what EA's doing. We know
Sunday
what EA's doing.
Morning is Microsoft, who probably have the most to prove.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, yeah, obviously they do. I mean, I don't, like, we've been having, I mean, whether it's not necessarily on our Facebook group or anything like that, which I would encourage people to jump on in if they haven't before, because we love to be able to chat with you guys, but less so on Facebook, more so on YouTube, when we've had a couple of real good Xbots come in there and kind of give us a hard time for the way that we spoke about Microsoft. But we've made it abundantly clear too that, I mean, especially you and I, Paul, I mean, this whole thing started, I mean, when you look back at COG as an Xbox specific fan group, in a sense, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we do not wish any ill will on Microsoft. You just cannot or you can't look away from facts, right? And looking at the list right now of what we have, of what we might see, okay? So we've got Crackdown, Gears 5, Halo 6. I like how you put Forza 73.
It might as well be at this point. Like, it's ridiculous.
But that's just it. I mean, diminishing returns. We've already spoken on this, right? Like, great franchise, but I mean, how much are you going to change it to the point where people are going to go, this is fresh and this is new? You're just not, right? Below, people are psyched about Below, but I mean, in terms of a tier, it's a lower tier game. Ori 2.
I mean, Below is basically vaporware at this point. I've played it 1 year, but I mean, it seems to be perpetually in the same state of nothingness.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then, and the big question mark obviously is Fable. I mean, Crackdown we know is coming. Gears and Halo, I hate to say it. I mean, nothing against those franchises. They're just obviously inevitable. right? So these are things that we're speculating on, but you know what we're not speculating on is like, hey, something crazy and brand new that'll knock our socks off because they've just consistently kind of disappointed us. Or if they've announced it, they've canceled it 2 years later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, compare this list with the 5s and the 6s and the 73s after the names to, the stuff that Sony's got coming out. They're all unique things that have not come out before. So, I mean, I hope Microsoft has something super unique up their sleeve that we have no idea about. For gamers' sake.
I think if nothing else, Microsoft can, even if they like shit the bed and don't bring us any of the new hotness, if nothing else, you can get some hands-on, some gameplay time with some of these titles, and they still have a chance to just straight up wow us. Like, yeah, okay, it's the 6th Halo, but it could still be really fucking amazing and fun. Same with Gears and, to a lesser extent, Crackdown.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, though. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on these franchises because I grew up playing these franchises just as much as you guys. You know what I mean? I mean, I've played through Halo. I'll admit that Halo 5 was finally where they lost me. I'm like, I don't want to play this. I tried, and I noped out because it bored me. You know what I mean?
Same here.
Crackdown, I have some interest in for sure. I mean, I loved the first one. Crackdown 2 was less of a wow for me. But yeah, I mean, and even Forza, I mean, I believe we're going to be talking about Horizon this time around. Okay, cool. I like the Horizon series. Like I say, I'm not trying to shit on the games because I like those games. I'm just hoping for something a little bit more. But it's just so hard to speculate. I mean, last year the focus was hardware, and the One X is a great machine, right? But now, I mean, now we need games that excel on it. And it's just starting to feel like tired conversation when we go, let's look at the exclusives game. And I mean, not only stacking up against Sony, but stacking up against Nintendo. They just are not bringing heat. And I'm saying that one thing is that despite what we've talked about in terms of the list of the games that are here, Microsoft still has that ability to surprise us with something. That is the point of E3. I mean, they could be holding a couple things really close to the vest, and along comes E3, and we're or I shouldn't say we. I mean, you guys are going to be sitting in there. I'm not in there this year, but that pressure's going on, and something happens, and you go, "Holy fuck, Microsoft is back." We don't know, and I'm really hoping for them because I mean, I think there's enough space to have. I mean, I like the fact that we've got these big companies doing competition against each other, and I just don't want to count Microsoft out. And I think you'd be foolish to completely count them out of the equation at this point.
Yeah.
Well said. You said it all there, Shawn.
Yeah, I usually do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've always got a lot to say about Microsoft. They're we have a complicated relationship with that company.
Well, I wish them nothing but the best of luck. You know what I mean? I want to see them succeed. So, I mean, I'm just hoping they come with something a little more than the list that we just went over.
And the rumblings are that their press conference is going to be nearly 2 hours long. So, presumably they've got something to show.
Well, a lot more than the 7 games that we mentioned.
Yeah, well, let's hope. Yeah. Moving along to Sunday evening, where we've got the mighty Bethesda, who can seemingly do no wrong this last little while. We are definitely going to see more about Fallout 76.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, like how cynical people are. The second it was kind of figured out that it's probably something online, maybe possibly in the vein of some sort of base building, that people's attitudes kind of soured on it. I'll admit that that's not my kind of game, so I will probably nope out of it if it's that, but that's just because it's not my kind of game. You know what I mean? I mean, there are a lot of people who dig that sort of thing, so I mean, I don't think Bethesda would have gone through that circus of, let's see how long we can get people to watch our stream for while we fucking do a puppet show and whatever else. 24 hours of people just glued to Twitch, for nothing. I mean, Bethesda, they know their market now. They're so good at what they do. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to kind of like open the lid. What is the mystery? What is it? So obviously they're going to give us a bit more because they've got the big old they got the big 3-panel screen there, 3-panel building at E3 this year near the convention center.
Yeah, which has housed some pretty great games in the past. Interestingly, Jason Schreier over at Kotaku has been doing a lot of digging on Fallout 76, and it sounds like there's going to be a pretty traditional story baked into this, so we'll see what form that takes. But obviously very curious to see what that's going to be. Is it even a first-person shooter? Who knows?
Well, you know who else recently did a fucking dense, satisfying single-player campaign coupled with a massive online experience was Grand Theft Auto 5.
I didn't partake in that, so I can't speak to it, but I'm definitely think it could be done. Mm-hmm. I mean, if anything would convince me to drop into that kind of world, because, I mean, history would show that I've avoided those types of games, even to the point where I avoided jumping into ESO, and I'm an Elder Scrolls nut. But I also, man, Fallout is just something special for me, so that could convince me to jump into that kind of world, too. It's interesting.
And then we've got Rage 2.
Yeah, we do.
Big fucking guns.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this last week. I'm like super pumped for it, but apart from getting my hands on the game, which I would hope to, they kind of, I mean, whether, according to Pete Hines, they were actually going to announce it before the show. Someone actually questioned him on like how quickly they moved up their ad campaign based on the Walmart leak. And he was like only a week or two, like a couple weeks at best. So I don't know if they were, whether he, I mean, Pete's not the kind or the type to bullshit. I don't think they were planning on holding on to this till E3. I think they were planning to announce it and then it's going to be playable at the show. That's my guess.
Well, yeah, because they've got Fallout to like head the fucking event, then like they could have dropped Rage whenever they wanted, really.
Well, I mean, I think the leak probably was the best thing that ever could have happened for Rage 2. I mean, it kind of elevated its excitement. Like, ooh, this game that we never expected was leaked, the whole Walmart thing. If they just announced it as they had planned, would the excitement level be as high? Probably not. So, I mean, it's great for them. It's great for, for the studio in that, because Rage wasn't really that well received, was it? I mean, I liked it. We talked about this, but overall was kind of a meh, people thought.
Yeah, I don't think it sold that well.
Yeah, it's not the sort of thing where they, like, you would have expected a sequel just based on its commercial performance.
No, exactly. I mean, the world itself that they built, I mean, did you ever play it, either one of you?
I didn't know.
Okay, well, I've got my copy, and I'm more than willing to hand it over to anybody who's got a Xbox One for backwards compat. And I would encourage you to play it. It's actually a really, really cool game. It just didn't break any, it didn't break any new ground. It was serviceable, right? But the world that they built was really, really cool. The characters were awesome. But, I mean, it was hindered by what I would consider standard gameplay. I mean, not bad, just standard, right? So, again, the world is cool. And I think they probably learned their lesson in saying they got to bring a little bit more to the table. But yeah, I mean, yeah, cool that there's Rage too. But I mean, I don't know. It's not like E3 wow for me now because the lid's already been blown off it.
I think Pete Hines was the one quoted as saying this, but apparently Bethesda's conference is going to be one of their longest ever too. So it seems likely that they've got more than Fallout and Rage to talk about.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I noticed you put down here on the list like a Fallout 3 remaster. Not that I wouldn't be down for that, but also in the same respect, I think I'm finally at that point where I'm just tired of the remaster train. I mean, yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I'll play it, probably. I would probably play it. I would play it at a discount, though. I mean, I played everything Fallout 3. I beat the game. I went through every piece of DLC. So I mean, I'm a huge fan. I'm just tired of playing old games. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people are excited about Spyro, for example, and I mean, and I get that. I mean, it's a big, huge visual upgrade, but I mean, how much are you going to do in that engine now? I mean, you compare out Fallout 3 to Fallout 4. I mean, not that there's obviously visible improvement, but I mean, I don't know. We're talking pixels at this point. I mean, there's nothing new there. That's a boring E3 prediction for me, honestly.
I'm pretty sure that one leaked out as well, although I might have dreamt
really?
it. I don't know.
No, when they first did the thing, when they first did the stream or whatever, people were like, "Oh, it's gonna be a Fallout 3 remaster for sure."
Hey, wait, there's actually a guy on Reddit who said, if this is not the Fallout 3 remaster, I will chug a bottle of Tabasco on video. And he delivered.
No, fuck, did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God.
Like a 6-ounce bottle of Tabasco, he chugged it down, and then he lipped off for a few minutes. It was pretty great. I'll see if I can find it and link that in the description, because it was funny.
Oh my God, if I tried that, I'd vomit straight up. I'd fucking vomit.
Most people would, man.
This dude took it like a boss. He was pretty impressive.
Good for him. I see the big question mark on the next one is Starfield, and I'm going to be completely honest. I have no fucking idea what this is about. What the fuck is Starfield?
Well, Bethesda trademarked Starfield years and years and years ago, and re-upped the trademark last year. So the theory is that this is the next big Bethesda game studio thing before they get to Elder Scrolls 6 is basically space Fallout or space Elder Scrolls.
Good God. Am I being bold when I say that space Elder Scrolls kind of made my pants smaller? That sounds great. I hope it's that.
Yeah.
I want it to be that.
There could definitely be a Thieves Guild in space,
oh my God.
Fighters Guild in space. Can't wait.
I'm down with that. I mean, if obviously, pure speculation, obviously at this point, like you said, if it's, if they're banking on one of their longer, traditionally the Bethesda showcases have been shorter with a small amount of games and lots of gameplay. Like when they revealed Doom, it was like a 15-minute presentation of just Doom. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if it is going to be longer this time around, obviously they got a lot more than Fallout and Rage in their pocket. So maybe it's the time then.
I mean, I'm sure they'll talk about Skyrim coming to toasters and, other such Bethesda things.
Oh, yeah.
No, what they're going to do, guys, is, those old fucking Game & Watch titles with, like, LCD screens? It's going to be a Skyrim Game & Watch. It's going to be
Tiger
so
Electronics.
good.
Remember Tiger Electronics? Yeah.
Sometime in the middle of that Fallout 76 pre-stream, someone photoshopped Skyrim onto a Pip-Boy. So they were thinking, like, maybe you can play Skyrim in Fallout on the Pip-Boy.
Huh. Yeah. That's actually kind of funny.
They had a lot of time on their hands, the internet.
Yeah, well, the internet always does.
Mm-hmm.
It's
apparently
it's at the same time beautiful and also just like the most awful place on the planet, the internet.
Yeah, who else has all that time is Bethesda, to keep finding new places to put Skyrim. So apparently they were just sitting on oodles and oodles of hours.
When you break down how much money Skyrim has made for them, you gotta wonder. Like, it's no small amount. That is a massive amount of money with the amount of... I mean, I own it on 3 consoles.
Damn.
Right? So
I mean, they wouldn't keep porting it if it wasn't making boatloads.
And well, that, I guess, and that's true, right? I mean, they wouldn't keep doing it if people weren't buying. So, good on them. I mean, there's a sucker born every minute, and I'm one of them.
Yep, they're going to get you this year, too, when they reveal that you can play Skyrim on your fridge.
Cool!
Come on, man. They're going to fucking do it.
I hope they at least refrigerators.
Troll.
Well, I was going to say, we do have refrigerators now that, like, they've got a screen on it where you can press a button and see inside your fridge, instead of opening the fucking fridge. So, I mean, nothing would surprise me anymore
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Yeah, that's just all I want is to play games in my fridge. I go for a beer or something. It's like, no. Let's sit down here in front of this thing and stay a while and finish a quest or two.
Well, let's think logically. I mean, if your beer is in the fridge and you start playing your game, I mean, especially if you got one of them fancy 2-door fridges, you open the left door and you grab your beer, which is ice cold because it's never left the fridge, and you just close that door. And meanwhile, on door number 2, you're questing like a motherfucker. You know, I mean, the math makes sense.
You're exploring Bleak Falls Barrow.
That's awesome. I kind of hope they do it just to fuck with people.
Oh, a big troll video? That'd be amazing. I could see Pete doing that. He's a good guy.
I think so. He's a good guy with a great attitude, and he knows how to have a good time. So
he does, yeah. Moving on to Monday, we've got the French wizards Ubisoft, who had their feather in their cap blown wide open with Assassin's Creed Odyssey getting leaked.
Oh, what? It got leaked? What a surprise. I mean, This isn't the year of leaks, is it?
No, not at all. But presumably that's more Assassin's Creed.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, I'm glad for it. Obviously, I mean, I absolutely love Origins. I mean, it's fucking amazing. It's one of my favorite games of all time already at this point. I mean, I don't know. You could argue two things. I mean, I kind of thought that the 2-year stopgap was good for development. But at this point, if they're building on that existing engine, which is really, really good, and they can add enough diversity, I'm not like adverse to them dropping a new one so quickly. But I just don't want them to lose the steam that they gained. They gained a lot of favorable, reception among fans with Origins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's after a run of like, fuck, oh, look, this is Unity. Oh, I mean, it's just like every year and not enough was done to make people give a shit. And then they kind of cared again. So don't fuck that up. So I'm hoping Odyssey really stacks up.
The title Odyssey, does that mean it's in ancient Greece?
It is. It's yeah. No, it's already kind of been established that it's it's in Greece. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
there's that.
Rad.
It should be cool. Also, we're expecting to see The Division 2.
Yep.
Anybody play The Division 1?
Yeah, man. That game, that's one of those games that's the perfect example of something that got better with time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good game when it first released, but just not enough people really kind of jumped in. I mean, no one necessarily said bad things about it. They just kind of were meh, it's there. It's okay. But it's, Ubi's really mastered the whole games as a service thing. We've talked about this before. And that they just never stopped developing. They just constantly fed it. And they're still doing stuff now. And their fan base is, I mean, at least from what I can tell, is bigger than ever. So, they obviously probably like any, I think the whole games as a service thing was something that the industry as a whole has kind of been learning for the past 2 years. I mean, Destiny kind of really kicked it off with the first Destiny. They're trying to do it with Destiny 2, and it's, obviously it's getting a lot of flack. But, I mean, just the idea of that perpetual build, like, here's the game, and we're going to just keep feeding you for a year, 2 years. And it's just this constant drip of new and interesting content. Ubi really latched onto it, and it's starting to kind of pay off. The dividends are starting to show up. So I think they would have learned their lesson, and I think Division 2 really has a chance to really stand out. I'm super interested.
I think it's in a really good spot to perform really well because people are so mad about Destiny 2. They're looking for something that is going to feed that need to, keep questing and not be super repetitive. So if Ubi can do what they've done with Rainbow Six Siege and Wildlands to this game, I think people are really going to latch onto it. So long as it plays well. We shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Yeah. And I mean, apart from that, I mean, I'm looking at the list you put down here. Starlink, people kind of thought was dead in the water because the whole, Toys to Life thing is kind of done. I mean,
wrong, Shawn. They're bringing it back.
But, I mean, it's a cool concept. The only thing that ever really kind of threw me is just like, do you really want to... I don't want a fucking spaceship on my controller. That seems awkward as fuck. Like, isn't
I
that...
feel like if Disney kicked that toys, games shit to the curb, then maybe everybody else should follow suit. I don't know. Those guys have, like, bloodhounds for profit when it comes to shit to push on children's, young adults, and teens. And so if they were like, hey, because they had the same opportunity with Disney Infinity, and they shuttered that shit. They shut it the fuck down. And then it was like a few months after that Ubi announced Starlink, and it just felt really awkwardly timed. Like, did you guys get the memo?
Well,
we sent it basically everywhere.
And Skylanders is done.
Yeah.
And Lego, whatever the Lego one was, it's done.
Yeah.
Those were the big three. And I mean, there are obviously people who are into it. I mean, if you were to walk up to our boy Alex Thomas and whisper in his ear Starlink, his dick would get so hard. He I mean this
I wish you were kidding.
I mean this affectionately. He's really excited about it though too. I mean, but that jokes aside, the thing is there are people out there who want that type of content, and maybe if they're the only ones out there making waves, maybe it has a chance. I'll agree. Like, I mean, Ben Silverman, there were a few other people that I remember talking about it going like, this actually seems kind of cool. I'm not saying it can't make waves. I'm just really cynical about how successful it'll be, because people are kind of tired of that idea. I already spent $80 on the game, and now I'm going to get piecemealed with these fucking toys at $10, $12, $15 a pop, right? So cool in theory, but you've got a much more savvy consumer the past couple of years, and we just want our content for the dollars that we pay. So, I mean, it feels like an uphill battle for something like that to succeed now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so long as they appeal specifically to that older, like, hobbyist, enthusiast kind of crowd, because, like, it seems like everybody else has figured out that the kids don't give a shit about this, or maybe their parents are just not willing to pony up anymore. But if they can create a product that caters specifically to these man children who, bless them in their deep pockets, then yeah, maybe they got hit in their hands.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, and again, I'm always of that mindset, or the attitude where I don't ever wish ill will on any game. I always want to see every single game succeed. So, I mean, that cynic in me is going, maybe the time has passed, but I'd love to be surprised. I'd love for it to be just something crazy cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Why don't we talk about the big dog, the top dog? That is Monday night. That is Sony. And we're bringing a lot of stuff. Stuff like Spider-Man.
Yep. Well, I mean, and that's one of 5 we got listed. And I mean, God, I hate pointing this out because, like I said, when we're chatting about like people who go, oh, you guys are a bunch of fucking, Sony dick suckers. But it's just like, we went over the list. over at Microsoft. And now we've got to Sony. We've got 1 sequel and 4 original games. 1 sequel. And 1 sequel to a game that was like insanely well received, and only the second in its franchise, in its series.
Mm-hmm.
Not 7, not 6, not 5. You know what I mean? 2.
For those who cannot see our podcast doc, which is almost all of you, that would be Spider-Man, The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and Days Gone.
Like, man.
Pretty strong, presumably.
Pretty strong? No, that is strong. I mean,
mm-hmm.
They are delivering, when it comes to first-party experiences, they are delivering. I mean, the last time that they got universally shit on in terms of first-party was what, The Order? I mean, apart from that, everybody's
Yeah, probably.
loving what Sony's doing.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I don't like the first 4 items are probably gonna be monster fucking hits. I don't know how I feel about Days Gone.
I'm excited for it. Honestly, I am. I'm excited for it. I sat in last year on their behind closed doors, and most of what I saw is kind of been outed by now. I mean, it's there's been footage released and everything else. It's kind of been shit on in that it's feeling like the Sony formula in a sense. Third person over the shoulder. It's what Sony does, and it's what Sony does well. But there's still enough to it, and the character and the world that they're building. I mean, I don't know if it's maybe because we're kind of zombie tired, so maybe that's counting against it.
That's
but all
my
in all, I mean,
specific
Days
issue with
Gone
it.
seems like a cool game.
Well,
Is that what it is? Is it zombie tired? People are just like, fuck, another zombie game,
Well,
which is
I
fair.
personally could give a shit about zombies forever, for the rest of my life. If I never play another zombie game, I'm good to go. Maybe other people are less exhausted with the trope than I am, but
No, I think everybody's pretty tired with it. I think the question here is, did Sony Bend get enough of a budget to flesh this thing out enough? Because word is that it's a pretty long game. Is there enough content? Is there enough breadth of what you do moment to moment to keep you going for that whole time? And is there enough there to differentiate it from the seemingly somewhat similar world of The Last of Us? We shall see.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm very curious. I hope with that we get a chance to play it this year and see what it's all about.
The interesting thing with Sony is that they've already said with their show, it's not going to be what they've done traditionally. They're basically focusing on the games that they have and giving them a longer expose sort of thing, right?
Mhm.
So it's 5 games we already know about, but we're not going to get a surprise reveal necessarily. Maybe we might, but kind of doubtful. Who knows?
Oh, I
Who
bet
knows?
we will. I bet we will. They
Like one thing maybe up their sleeve or something like that. But I mean,
yeah.
we saw a fair amount of Spider-Man last year. We're obviously getting close to release on that one. So, that one's less of an event. I mean, not that I'm not excited. I'm like crazy pumped for that game. But that's less of an event. Obviously, Last of Us 2, we want to see a lot more of. So I'm excited for that. Ghost of Tsushima is more of the wild card. We don't know a lot about what it's about. So that's that one where I'm like, yeah, give me more. I mean, just the setting alone, I'm like, yeah, yeah, I want to know more.
That's
Give me a lot more of that.
That's in my top 2 or 3 things that I'm most interested to see this year.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
yeah,
Death Stranding is more, all right, well, we saw that weird trailer and none of us know exactly what's going on. I want to know more, but it's kind of, I'm at the point because of the buildup and because we know it's going to be this 4-year drag on of, Death Stranding. I'm just at the point with that one where I just want to see the game. I'm kind of done with the, just the tip bullshit. Just show me the fucking
I've
game.
got like hype-related blue balls at this point. Just, put a fucking controller in my hands or don't waste my fucking time. I don't know.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah, so that's Sony. I mean, I'm sure there are things that I didn't quite think of when I was making this list that are coming, but that seemed like a pretty strong group to just chat about briefly. Yeah, so that's it for the traditional press conferences. But why don't we move on to that little Japanese elephant in the room we call Nintendo?
Give me Metroid or get the fuck out.
But do you really want Metroid Prime 4?
Prime 4? No, not necessarily.
But
I
isn't
mean,
that what they said it is? It's a Prime game.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Is it the same studio that did the previous 3?
I don't believe it's retro. I don't think so.
Okay, so that means that we might get a Prime game in name only. Like, this might be like,
Yeah.
it's a first-person Metroid that's gonna blow your tits clean off.
I think my problem when it comes to the Metroid series is I'm so clouded by nostalgia. I really am. I mean, I've gone into the Metroid games of the past, generations here going, it's just hoping for Super Metroid in a sense. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it'll never be that. It'll never be that. And then it's just nostalgia can be a great thing, but sometimes it can be such a hindrance because you just can't get over of like, hey, when I was in my teens or, you know, when I was a kid, I played this game and it was so amazing and nothing is going to beat that or break that for me. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Metroid will never, in my mind, live up to what I'm hoping it to be, honestly. So I just love Metroid. I love the idea behind Metroid. I just kind of want to see them do it right. But I'll admit that I've kind of fallen off the wagon with a lot of the Nintendo franchises over the years.
Well, maybe with Metroid they'll pull a Bloodstained and release like Super Metroid 2 as the tease before Metroid Prime 4.
Oh my god, if they did something along the lines of Super Metroid 2, holy Jesus.
Just straight up call it that too.
Oh
that'd be great.
God. Yeah, my business is getting rigid just thinking about it. That'd be fucking rad.
Either of you guys interested in Smash Bros?
No.
I'll play it when it comes out. I know an actual circle of competitive Smash players in North Vancouver. So I will definitely play it when it comes out, but I'm not like super jazzed for it.
It's a niche market. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big niche. You know, people who are dedicated to Smash love Smash. But in terms of, I mean, I don't know. I mean, is Smash that universal appeal type game? You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be a Zelda or a Mario, is it? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I just feel that it's like any fighting game. Fighting games have always kind of been, you know, this corner of really fervent and passionate fans.
That's the thing about Smash Bros. Is it doesn't really appeal to fighter fans because it's so accessible and you can basically do whatever move you want at will. You don't have to have any kind of skill with the stick or the buttons or the timing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it is a really niche market in that the fighting fans typically aren't that into it, and maybe the mainstream audience isn't that into it, but Smash fans really like Smash.
Yeah, they do. They're super passionate about it. I mean, obviously, I'm glad for them. I mean, I love when people enjoy things. I'm glad for them. It's just not for me.
I think that's the real question about Nintendo and the Switch going forward is, can they put out enough software to keep this thing afloat for years and years and years? Because they put out Zelda and Mario in the same year.
Yeah.
That's unprecedented for one, but, you know, they're not going to have either one of those things for 5 or 6 more years, pretty much.
No, but the platform is exceeding in terms of third-party support.
Mm-hmm.
Games are selling, you know, indie games especially that do okay numbers on Steam are doing insane numbers on Switch. I mean, that platform is nothing but a success. So, I mean, it'll keep itself afloat on what else is out there, even if that first-party support starts to slow down to more of a drip.
Agreed. But I think they're going to get to that peak and that plateau sooner than they think if they are not continuing to dribble out the Nintendo classics or new IP for that matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the next big question mark is Pokemon, right? I mean, obviously people love their Pokemon. I mean, I'm not a big fan because I'm an adult as far as I'm concerned, but
hey, I'm an adult.
I'm just saying.
Love Pokemon.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you, man. Pull up your big boy pants and you fucking chase that Pikachu, bitch. Like, you do what you do. But I mean, for me, it's a non-interest. I mean, whatever. Again, I love that people like things. I'm glad. But, you know, I don't know. I mean, apart from that, when you're looking at their first-party type things, there's not a lot on the horizon that I can think of, at least just off the top of my head right now, that I'm going, yeah, wow, I'm really excited for it.
I mean, I think they just need to really put Miyamoto in a room with all manner of whatever drugs he was on when he came up with Super Mario in the first place, you know, like, and just see what he can come up with. Because, you know, I think he's got a few more ideas in there, and he can pump out a quick couple of IPs just to keep this bus driving along.
Yeah, man. Don't count Shiggy out until the day he breathes his last breath, man. Like, that guy's a genius,
of course,
right? For sure. So he definitely probably has a lot more in the tank. But I think we're just at a time now, especially with Nintendo. They've always got that idea of being the family-friendly company, and they are. But at what point do they really need to address that they kind of got to grow up with their audience a little bit and start offering us some things that just aren't so childish?
I don't know if you guys saw this one, but I posted a news article at like midnight or like 12:15, really early in the morning, that you can go on to the Nintendo Switch eShop right fucking now, this second.
I saw this shit. Yeah. I saw this shit.
And you can download a like weird conversational dating app starring an actual Japanese model who has videos out there for the fucking discerning scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Now we're talking, Nintendo.
Yeah. It's real fucking weird. It's real fucking weird. I like looked this person up to see what their deal is and what they did, and don't super know how the Nintendo Switch got this particular game. This is pretty far afield for them.
It slipped through the cracks.
I want to quote you right now, James. I'm not linking any of the aforementioned videos because holy cow, are they NSFW?
That's so good. All right, so you remember back when at the beginning of the cast, I told you that my house had not sold.
Did it just sell, Shawn?
No, but I have a showing that suddenly popped up, and it's 10 minutes from now. So I have to bow out at this point. I need to say goodbye because in 10 minutes there's going to be people trying to buy my house, and half-drunk Shawn in the office is not going to help sell this house. So
what if you're dangled as the carrot in front of the sale? Like, look, you can have him.
He'll come with the property.
No, that's going to chase people away for certain. Yeah, no, the wife actually texted me and she's like, there's somebody who wants to, and it's a second showing, so they're like super interested. So I'm not in the position to turn them down. So what I have to do is I'm going to gracefully duck out while you guys handle the next 3 or so. And to be honest, there's a couple things I'm seeing in the list here that I'm not allowed to comment on. So I'll let you guys have fun speculating on a few things that I'm not allowed to comment on.
All right. Yeah, well, we will do that. Get out of here, Shawn.
Exactly. So you guys do your thing. I wish you nothing but the best. And until next week when I'm back, hopefully with the house sold. So
yeah, signing off. Fucking house.
Well, farewell, gentle sir. Point. We will see you in Los Angeles.
All right, gentlemen. Take it easy. I'm out.
See ya.
All right. Okay, so what do we have still to talk about now that Shawn has vanished into the fucking ether?
Thank God. I thought he'd never go.
I can't figure out how to turn it off.
Fuck, he's still here.
I'm out. See you later, bitches.
Oh, that's perfect. Man. we've got Activision, we've got Square Enix, and I wrote down like Capcom and Namco Bandai and Focus and CDPR.
CD Projekt Red, that's right.
Let's just talk about that.
Yeah, let's fucking talk about that.
So that's got to be Cyberpunk.
Please let it be Cyberpunk. Please don't let it be like, guys, we're making more Gwent. Like, ugh.
Guys, it's Cyber-Gwent.
Yes, we're going to skip the mainline game, make another TCG. It's going to get your dick so hard. Everybody get ready.
Isn't it amazing how engaging Gwent was in The Witcher, but then the actual Gwent game comes out and nobody wants to touch it?
Well, because when you were playing it in The Witcher, it was like this guilty pleasure thing. It was like, I have this huge beautiful, expansive RPG, and here I am fucking around with a card game, and then they just give you the card game. I'm like, I don't know, this is it's not the same, you know?
But, like, if I stop, I'm not gonna go, check on the witches in the bog. If I stop, I'm back to my real life, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, you need that transition phase where you're like, you go from card game to beautiful fantasy world to real life. You can't skip that middle step, or else all the fucking magic is gone.
So they announced Cyberpunk 2077 5 years ago.
Oh my god.
So it's got to be almost done, right?
I mean, they had like a single tweet from the Twitter account that was just like beep, like just that word. Sometime in 2018, I think it was pretty recently, and everybody was like, speculating appropriately, and so now, hopefully, this year's E3. Because I think I recently wrote or read about, or both, that they had a big quarterly teleconference call about their finances or whatever the fuck. And people were asking, hey, so are you guys going to be at E3 or are you going to be at the Microsoft press conference? And they wouldn't say anything.
Really?
Yeah, they were zipped right up. They wouldn't say a fucking word. And so hopefully that means that they're just, I don't know, maybe they're just like locking it up real tight because they got some big shit to drop. Which somehow hasn't leaked, which is great.
Yeah, oh my god, it might be the only thing, actually. Do you think that they go whole hog and this baby's just like playable and coming out this year?
Well, it's been 5 years, and either they've been spending that entire time working on fucking Gwent, or they have a playable build. So I really hope it isn't the first one. I hope it isn't just like, guys, we're firing 60% of you and just making a card game for half a decade. Hopefully you'll be able to have a job in like 2018.
I think we both know that there is a single intern in the basement in Poland working on Gwent, and 600 people working on Cyberpunk.
Oh, it's gonna be so fucking cool.
Yes it is.
I want it in my life. I want it in my veins. Just get the little metal fucking spoon with Cyberpunk 2077 on it, and we'll get the lighter underneath it and just plunge it right into my fucking arm, man.
Complete disregard for personal safety. James Paley, everyone.
That's right. Put it in my fucking veins. James Paley, 2018. Okay.
Oh boy. Well, let's talk about the other interesting one. That's Square Enix. Because I know you're going to see Kingdom Hearts, James.
That's gonna be pretty cool. Full disclosure, I kind of dropped off the series after playing the first two mainline entries. KH1 and 2 were great, although, did you know, because I got curious, if you go back and look for like just videos that are all the cutscenes, putting together everything that's in like 1.5 and 2.5 and 2.8, because seriously, there's a fucking 2.8 compilation they released. All those cutscenes, if you mangle all that shit together, it's longer than a 13 episode season of television.
I did not know that. I'm guessing you know that though.
I didn't watch it. I just went on YouTube. It was like, I wonder if I could just like, give me the elevator pitch, show me the shit, catch me up in the games. No. That's like a 12, 13 hour commitment. So probably not. No.
I mean, I'll be honest, with that naming scheme, I was not really that clear that 1.5 and 2.5 were different from 1 and 2.
Yeah, they're compilations basically. So 1.5 is like Kingdom Hearts 1, and then it's got like, I think like Chain of Memories and a couple other games. One of them is just like cutscenes because I don't know, they were like, no, we're not putting in 4 full fucking games, and thanks for that, by the way. So and then 2.5 is the same thing. And so you can like get these compilations, and I thought that was it, but then I found out that there's actually something fucking thing called 2.8, which has 3 offshoot titles I've literally never fucking heard of before. So like, not only would you have to have like played like these 13, 14 different fucking games to be completely caught up in the lore, because you have to play them all. Because the Nomura, the crazy asshole who makes this franchise, likes to put in critical little fun, cool story bits in every single entry, even when it's just like a fucking free-to-play mobile title that never saw release outside of Japan. So not only would you have to play all 14 of these games, but you would also, if you wanted the truncated version, have to buy 3 different collections. So, fuck.
Well, hopefully 3 is just 3 and it's good.
Oh man. I mean, just 3 for now. But as soon as that one comes out and like blows up, you know, because that's Square Enix's strategy, where they take a successful game and they milk it and harvest its organs until it's all fucking laid out over like 5 or 6 titles.
Well, we'll look forward to 3.99 Turbo Arcade Extreme Edition.
Yeah, and then 3.16 or 3.14 Kingdom Hearts Pi, or Pidum Hearts, and that'll come out in about 2021. It's going to be really great. It's going to be a card battler, by the way, in case you're curious.
Ooh, I love those digital TCGs.
Fuck yeah.
It's based on the core of Gwent. And
yeah. I was going to say it's going to be a Gwent 2.0's direct competitor. And to make Cyber-Gwent, they're going to come out with Kingdom Hearts, the next card battler, to just really like throw them up against the fucking octagon or whatever.
Please let Cyber-Gwent be real. Please, God, let it be real.
Holy fuck. Hey, you know what else they have coming out for Square is hopefully Octopath Traveler we learn some more about.
Oh, please. Man, that demo is so rad.
It's got like that tilt shifting thing they have for like the whole time. Like it's just that all the time tilt shifted, which I think is fucking amazing. However, I'm cautiously optimistic because it looks like it's pretty heavily based on the Saga series, which I don't know if you ever played any of the Saga games, but they sucked a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope that it can't be bad because the demo was pretty promising. I mean, like the dialogue seemed okay, and you know, even in the demo it was pretty strategy heavy, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic is a good way to put it.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully pretty fucking solid at the very least.
Another absolute lock is Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, that's coming down the pipes. That's happening. It's going to be so something. I do not play much Tomb Raider.
Wow.
I know. Cutting revelations, really like, really dragging some shit out of the closet here. But I just missed that boat back in the OG, and like, I think by the time that was coming out for modern consoles, I was doing other shit. I think I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I played in the original grouping and probably played Tomb Raider 2 the most, and then just fell off of it and came back when they rebooted it. But in my review of Rise of the Tomb Raider a couple years back, I actually called it the best Uncharted game in the series. Which is, I mean, throwing shade at Naughty Dog a little bit, but it is a fantastic freaking game. It is very, very good. So hopefully Shadow keeps that up, and I mean, they've taken Lara pretty much everywhere, so I'm guessing space.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's probably, they could just like send her on a fucking high-powered rocket ship to some other planet. It's like, hey, we found some ruins, and we want somebody we can beat the shit out of on that planet. You know, just sort of like throw you up against some cliff sides, drop you down some wells, you know, stab you with some things, you know, just really run the whole gamut. Is that the word? I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, 7 or 8 too many 0G sequences.
Yeah. Just get that really slow motion shot that's like almost too long to be even slightly tasteful of her like torso region, her chesticles. Yeah, a lot of those sequences. It'll be really good.
We are doing this series a drastic disservice with this description. I'm sure Shadow
they're
is going to
fucking
be pretty
amazing
rad.
games. No, it's going to be so fucking good.
What's the over-under on seeing anything from the FF7 remake?
Oh man, I would say if I feel like I said this before, but I think we want to see like a heartfelt apology from Square over that game, or like fly in the wall video footage of the whole team being fired because they were fucking it up so badly. Like reality TV style, just them like hanging their heads in shame, packing their boxes full of their shit and being marched out of the office. Fucking guys.
Well, here's an interesting thing I heard that might put into perspective how the development of this game was potentially going. I heard that Nomura, during one of his visits to the studio, decided that he was suddenly unhappy with the current design of Cloud, so they scrapped it.
Oh, dicks. But why?
I don't know.
Did he not have the huge, blocky enough hands? Was his, like, neck human-sized? And he was like, no, forget this shit.
Not enough spikes in the hair, I'm guessing. Maybe the sword wasn't quite large enough. Both possibilities.
Maybe they accidentally put in some realistic sword physics and he's like dragging it along the ground with a length of chain, like sweating visibly and like blood coming out from his fucking hands. He's like trying to reef on the fucking thing.
What's your estimate? How heavy is that sword in real life?
If it's anything less than 70 pounds, I would be shocked.
Yes.
Like, I mean, holy shit. I think there was like a YouTube video way back in the day because there's like some guy on YouTube who like makes fantasy weapons for realsies, like for some Fantasy Forge, some shit like that. And he tried to make the Buster Sword, and it was colossal. It was monstrous. It was like you just had to like lift the thing over your head and kind of let it fall down whatever you wanted to slice, in heavy air quotes, and you just watch it get like crushed into fucking dust.
Well, it's basically the size of an I-beam you'd put in a skyscraper. It's ridiculously huge. But real talk, I mean, we might see a trailer for it. Maybe.
Yeah, that'd be pretty dope if they had that. But I mean, depending on when they fired CyberConnect, that might be expecting a lot. I don't know. They should have at least like hoarded all the fucking assets from that and just tried to like salvage it that way. And I mean, they took Final Fantasy 14, like literally dropped a fucking bomb in that entire game world, and then like had it back up and banging in like in a year, right? Like,
yeah, I think it was about a year.
Yeah, and that's a huge, colossal, ambitious, multifaceted project, and it didn't take them until 2023. Like, yeah, come on, guys, you can do it. You can do it. We all do crunch time over here in North America. You can manage in Japan, I'm sure.
Let's see it. Let's see it by the end of this year. I'm guessing December 7th.
Yeah, December 7th we'll have a trailer more like. Yeah, it's like just 2 of our guys died of exhaustion, but we have 3 minutes of test footage that is not based on the engine for you, okay? How about that?
Yeah, it's like literally one battle has been done, and it's from just outside the train at the beginning of the game. And, you know, how many times are they going to show that sequence before it's released? Probably 15, 20?
15, 20 by February of 2019.
Okay.
They'll like, here's the new version with like incredibly realistic hair physics and fucking the movement pathing that we spent several weeks on. It's so good, you guys. It's so good. No word on the rest of the game, though. It's going to be some time.
Well, there's only like 100 hours more animation work, in-game animation to be done. So at this pace, we'll be done by 2163.
It's going to be such a great game, you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It'll be in super high definition, virtual reality. We'll have like the headsets that plug directly into the back of our necks.
Oh man!
It'll just take us like right to Midgard.
Oh man, it's gonna be like WALL-E, where we're all in the chairs.
Yes.
Can't wait.
So happy to finally play Final Fantasy 7 again.
And it turns out they just re-released the original game.
Oh fuck.
Super Troll. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even want to talk about Activision. Do you have anything to say about Destiny or Black Ops 4?
Fuck no.
Yeah.
Spyro looks hot to death in that 10 seconds of Twitter footage I saw.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, but I worry that it's got that weird Unreal 4 quality to the movement. Even just the 10 seconds it saw, I was like, okay, great, this looks so choice. But Unreal Engine has this dumb shit they do with motion blur.
Yeah.
They want it on everything they put out. Anybody who uses that engine is just like, well, obviously we need the maximum amount of motion blur so it feels like you're watching fucking handycam footage when you're playing the game. It's not realistic otherwise.
Yeah, I think every developer just looks at the slider and goes, oh, it goes up to 70. We're doing 70 for sure.
Yeah, no lower than 68, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, dial it back just a little bit.
Yeah, the 68. Watchmaker was so fucking bad for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I turned it off immediately. It was really unpleasant to look at
when
they had it turned on. And I think Yonder even was the same thing. Just a heavy dose of motion blur.
I feel like State of Decay 2 was Unreal Engine 4 as well, and it had some nasty motion blur.
Yeah, I feel like if there's any game that did not need that, it was the high-paced zombie title. Unless they're trying to use it like Vaseline on the lens to cover up the fact that they're janked up the fucking animation at every corner.
Oh, nothing could cover that up, my friend. Nothing at all. What else do we got? I wrote down Capcom. They have a reasonably sized booth, but I don't really know what they're bringing. I thought maybe New Dead Rising?
Hey, maybe they'll have a playable demo of the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, which would be completely fucking pointless because we've already played those games.
Well, have we though? We haven't played the remakes, James. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And by remakes, I mean faithful reproductions of the originals, and therefore the same game.
It'll have save states and little sliders for some settings where you can make it slightly easier, like the original Legacy Collection had, which I, of course, immediately turned up because a fucking scrub. Yeah, that's me. Scrub James. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Have the easy peasy big boy mode where they give you the maximum health right off the bat and that sort of thing. That'd be great. But yeah, I don't know what they have even coming. Capcom's been there has been some rumories shit about Devil May Cry 5.
Oh, that's true. Yep, that's it.
Yep, they'll drop that, and they'll hopefully not backpedal from DMC and then make just Devil May Cry 4 again, because I don't want that.
No. I don't think anyone honestly does. They just like to complain when DMC was a better game.
Yeah, objectively superior
in every way.
That's right. Now that they've got Bayonetta to get all their crazy out, they can do something cool with Devil May Cry.
Let us hope. I think we have appointments with Capcom, so presumably we will see whatever it is they've got. I hope so.
Ooh! They also have a new Mega Man game, 11. That's an actually new Mega Man thing we might be able to play.
Yeah, Yeah, they did like have a trailer of that a while ago, didn't they?
Yeah, there's a pre-order trailer like 2 months ago that like showed off some more of the gameplay footage. Although they showed off a lot of gameplay footage at the reveal event like last year or whatever.
Sure looks like Mega Man.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into that shit, great. It's gonna be amazing. I'm into it. I'm gonna love it. For a lot of people, it's gonna be kind of a non-issue. I feel like if they're gonna want to like get people talking about the company generally, they're gonna have to bring some pretty hot shit and not just like more Monster Hunter content or like more Mega Man content or like, oh, I mean, Devil May Cry 5 could be good, but like, give us something cool.
And yeah, I mean, the other things I have written down are pretty small potatoes. I mean, the only thing that really turned my crank is something we might want to talk about is Soulcalibur 6. But yeah. I know I'm not much of a fighting guy myself.
Yeah, I don't. I know they had like there was one of the like big live events. Was it like the Game Awards or like TGS where they showed off like the guy was on stage and it was like the last thing he says was like, "Tell me, does the soul still burn?" And then everybody's like, "Oh my god, there's gonna be another Soulcalibur!" And everybody's shirts were flying off and everybody's freaking the fuck out. Yeah, so I mean, people are obviously pretty jazzed about the prospect of another Soulcalibur game coming out. I would be too if I had played one in a decade, but I haven't. So,
well,
yeah.
I guess we'll just have to pull you off that appointment now. This is awkward. I told them you were the world's biggest Soulcalibur 5 fan. And
yeah, I have all the t-shirts and the plastic sword, so please let me play your game.
Please show up to at least one day of E3 in Soulcalibur cosplay. Nothing says street cred like cosplay as a member of the press.
Oh, I'm sure they would just love that shit. They would be just hot for it.
But yeah, that's kind of it. That's a lot of shit, though.
That is.
My God.
I like to think that there's going to be still a pretty significant stable of surprises. Maybe like collectively from everybody. Mm-hmm. There'll be like 5 or 6 items that, I mean, everybody on our crew will be chattering about excitedly that they show off.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So next week, we will be in LA. But we're going to try real hard to pump out a cast. Sometime we'll see if we can link up with Shawn at some point, or at least get the COG band back together with myself, James, Trevor, and Garrett. And
yeah, that'd be a great show.
It would.
We've got any energy left in our bodies when recording time comes.
Yeah. That's the real trick at E3 is pretending to be energetic. We're all super excited that we're down to the wire here, and the big show is about to happen. It's about to all go down. And yeah, you got anything else you'd like to say at this moment, Mr. Paley?
Just that even though there's been a whole hot mess of fucking spoilers dropping left and right over the last month, have faith that E3 2018 is still gonna like cream the jeans and stain the pants of everybody in attendance. There's still going to be some shit in the stable to really like, really raise the old eyebrows. All right. So just have faith. I do. I'm ready to be real fucking excited.
Yeah. I am fully prepared to have my skirt blown up and my hair blown back. By E3 2018.
Yes.
In vicious, violent fashion. And we'll be there to cover it for you on COGconnected.com. That's COGconnected on the Twitter, COGconnected on Facebook, COGconnected on Instagram, and COGconnected on YouTube. Trevor's your company man, but I'll say it in his stead right now.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, if you haven't already, you should get on our Facebook group as well, because that's where Shawn insults people. Typically, it's their intelligence or their choice in games, but it's a good old time to banter with Mr. Petraschuk and the rest of the crew who's trolling around there, chatting with the people. And yeah, of course, if you like this cast, I'd really love it if you'd share it with everyone you know. Give us 5 stars on iTunes, give us a review, follow it wherever you get your podcast from or on all those aggregators. And we do truly appreciate your support. So thank you very, very much for listening if you've come this far.
That's right. Thanks, you guys.
So until next time, we've been Paul and James, I guess.
And Shawn for a little while. Gonna miss him.
He was here.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't imagine that, did we?
No, no.
Oh, God. I'm gonna be so freaked out if I go back and there's no track from him.
Yeah, it's just the two of us the whole time.
It's 76% silence. Shawn, we love you. We're just checking to see if you actually listened to the end of the cast.
That's right. This is the test.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week from the LA region. Until next time, peace out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.